HBCU school in the NCAA tournament is Grambling. The Tigers play Montana State today in a Midwest Regional play-in game in Dayton, 3:40 p.m. tip-off on True TV. It's a special day for Grambling and their alumni around the country. This is the first NCAA tournament game for Grambling in school history. The Clippers are back in action tonight at Portland. The Lakers are off until Friday's home game against Philadelphia. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
Reparations Now has been a rallying cry in this country and around the world for decades. But the demand has taken on new urgency with growing momentum on the issue led by the state of California, which has completed an extensive study and put forth recommendations to enact reparations. California's reparations actions have huge nationwide implications. The California Task Force was the first of its kind in the nation, and the states of New York and Colorado recently voted to take on the issue. Dozens of cities from coast to coast, including San Francisco, Boston, Los Angeles, and Detroit, have started their own reparations commissions. One of the first known reparationists was Callie House, who toured the nation advocating for reparations in the 1890s. But never in this nation's history has the movement to heal the harms of enslavement, institutionalized racism, and the system of white supremacy seemed so strong. The topic remains untouchable for most elected officials, and the call for reparations has not yet garnered widespread public support. Polling shows that most Californians agree that black fellow citizens are still suffering from the damage done by slavery and Jim Crow, but they still do not support cash reparations. The California Legislative Black Caucus has introduced a package of proposals for bills that do not include 1 penny of cash compensation, restitution, or repair. Governor Newsom and other lawmakers have distanced themselves from the concept of cash payments. While Newsom is right, cash alone will not repair our collective harm, the state's goofy legislative package ignoring monetary payments is disingenuous. California lawmakers need to step up and put a reparations bill for cash payments on the table. The issue of how it is funded, the timeline, or whether it impacts our current budget challenges can be addressed. But we must strike while the iron is hot, or the window of opportunity will pass us by. If you agree that it's time for our lawmakers to add a bill enacting cash payments to their lineup, call them at 916-319-3868 and say, if it doesn't include cash, it ain't reparations. That's 916-319-3868. Tell him Callie House sent you. From Bruce's Beach to the California Task Force, the Golden State is a trailblazer when it comes to reparations. The world is watching. We must rise to the historical moment and set a precedent for cash payments along with legislative remedies and policies addressing the systemic badges of slavery and Jim Crow. We must insist on measures significant enough to help close the racial wealth gap. California must stand for cash, and the time for reparations is now. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Dominique DePrima. We welcome your comments.
I'm Tavis, Smiley, and I am on board and thrilled to have you tuning into our program today. That was an amazing hour with Adolph Reed. He was on fire today, and I just love talking to people who are smarter than I am. That ain't the most difficult thing to do. I just love talking to people who are a whole lot smarter than me. I say all the time, I walk out of this studio every day smarter than when I came in. And that's my goal for you, to try to empower you, to enlighten you, to encourage you, to inspire you, to be the smartest person in your circle of friends. That's my goal, to help you become if you aren't already the smartest person in your circle. But I love sitting in this chair every day and just learning and soaking up all this good information, and Adolph Reed came with it today, as will Marcus Collins in this hour. In our third hour, I should mention today, we'll be joined by the star, the longtime star of The Young and the Restless, Victor Newman. Well, actually, his real name is Eric Braden. And he has an amazing backstory. And Mr. Braden has a message from Mr. Putin, who just got reelected. I put that in air quotes, reelected in Russia the other day. We'll talk about that and a great deal more. He recently got a cancer diagnosis for you fans of Victor Newman, and we'll see how he's doing with his cancer. So a lot to talk about with Victor Newman, better known as Mr. Eric Braden, in our third hour today. But in this hour, Marcus Collins is a professor, marketing guru, and best-selling author of the book For the Culture, The Power Behind What We Buy, What We Do, and Who We Want to Be. He joins us now for a conversation about, then, the power of culture, storytelling, black influence, and human behavior. One of the things I want to ask Marcus is why the Democrats' message is seemingly not breaking through in this critical election year, at least not yet. I'm pleased to welcome Marcus Collins back to this program. Marcus, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing quite well. Thanks so much for having me back. It's always a pleasure. Man,
the pleasure is all mine. I love tapping into that brilliant mind of yours and glad to have you on. Let me start with this and we'll just continue. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at my clock here. Let me set this up since you missed the first hour. Let me set it up, and when we come forward, I'm going to let you take it for the rest of the way. So we just had a great conversation with one of the nation's most noted public intellectuals, Adolph Reed, Professor Emeritus at UPenn. He wrote a piece for The Nation magazine that's out now, Marcus, called Why I'm Voting for the Enemy. He makes the point that Trump obviously is an existential threat to this democracy, and for all the reasons one could come up with, and he listed them, that he has an issue with Joe Biden, he's going to hold his nose and vote for Biden anyway. And so the question is why the Democrats' message is not breaking through in this critical election year. Every poll, survey, and study, I recognize polls are a snapshot in time, but there's a pattern here. There's a pattern here. And Trump is leading in every single one of these polls, never mind all the drama that he's trying to navigate himself through every single day. So why? You're the marketing guru. You wrote the book. Why is this message, at this point at least, not breaking through? We will start with that, and then we'll jump from there. Our guest, and I'm glad about it, is Professor Marcus Collins, and you're listening to him right now, or at least you will when we come forward, on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Hey y'all, Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature Black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young Black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in Black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze Fruit on the Go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Go, Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Are you wet shaving?
you'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops, I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard Mama hates anyway?
Since 77. I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer, so I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin Ultra Soft on the party, this is more, so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistibly soft and hella nice. The grip is always soft. It's our party vibe. She's cushioning things so our cheeks feel flat. So what? Everybody wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
More Professor Dr. Marcus Collins coming your way right about now, best-selling author, is an expert about the power of storytelling, politics, human behavior. His book is called For the Culture, The Power Behind What We Buy, What We Do, and Who We Want to Be. We'll talk about that perhaps a bit later. In this hour. I was honored to have him on this program when that book came out, but delighted to have him back again today. And the timing for this conversation could not be more propitious given that we are in an election year, and this guy understands human behavior and culture and why we do what we do, as well as anybody in the country. He teaches this stuff literally every single day. So, Marcus, you heard me say a moment ago, I want to start on getting your take on why the Democrats' message. Let's be fair to Joe Biden. He's done fairly well stewarding the economy and the nation. Certainly, he saved this country from authoritarianism when he got elected, and he couldn't have done that without black folk, to be clear. But why is that message? I saw a beautiful piece you wrote, a powerful piece. I'm still wrestling with it, that you wrote about tribalism in our politics. We'll talk about that. But why is this Democratic message not, at the moment at least, breaking through, Marcus?
Well, there are a few things at play. In fact, we could spend the entire hour on this subject alone. But to not to oversimplify it, I would say there's three major things at play. The first is, to your point, Joe Biden and his administration has done a lot of good things, a lot of great things, in fact. Like, the country is moving in the right direction by all measures, from the economy, from jobs and the like. However, stories are not, facts are not as evocative as stories. And the story of Joe Biden, the story that Democrats tell about the administration are terrible, just terrible storytellers. The Democratic Party has a muscle memory, a tendency to give the facts. Here are the rational reasons why one should think that we're doing a good job. The Republicans, on the other end, they are amazing storytellers. They yada, yada, yada the facts. They tell the stories because they realize that stories are far more human, far more evocative than facts ever could. So, one, the Democratic Party were not great storytellers. Let's say they. Let's just remove myself. Okay. They're not great storytellers. Two, Democrats don't understand sort of the science or the system by which we share. Because it's one thing for Democrats to tell us something, but the thing that's really convincing us is when we're in our conversations with our people, at the dinner table, at the bar, at church, in the barbershop, wherever you descend with your people, those conversations, that's the negotiation process by which we decide what's acceptable for people like us. Like, we legitimate it, we evaluate it, and it becomes real based on what people like us believe. And when we're not talking about the facts because we forget the facts, we end up repeating the stories. And what are the stories associated with Joe Biden? Like, in many ways, they are the crime bill. Can't shake that story, right? Or it's the stories that the Republicans tell about Joe Biden. It's the stories that are framed about Joe Biden being too old. Like, those are the narratives that are being told, as opposed to saying all the factual, rational things that are actually real.
Right.
And the third is that, what is the belief? We don't believe. And there's nothing more, there's no gravitational pull far greater than what connects us than shared ideology, shared belief. We see it in religion. We see it in the military. There is a belief system that brings people together. It's the anchor of culture. It starts with our identity to our belief system. when it comes to any Democratic figure, I mean, like post Barack Obama, maybe you got AOC, maybe, but not a lot of people that are out preaching the gospel that people go, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, on the Democratic side, we're saying, I don't want that. So to your earlier point, I just hold my nose and vote for the opposite thing because I viscerally, I can't have that other thing. On the Republican side, people are voting for Trump because they believe.
Yeah.
They believe in the gospel. They believe in the ideas that are woven into the notion of make America great again. And as a result, they go, that's my guy. And it's not because he, the figure, is the guy, but he is the figurehead. He is the signifier that represents a belief system. People go, that's what I believe, and that's what I'm going to vote. And for those three reasons alone, the Democrats are getting punched in the face.
This is getting good, and I'm only 18 minutes in this hour. It's getting good already. Let me interrogate this. So what's the rub, or where's the rub, or why this distinction between them being true believers and us with this refrain? We don't want that. We're gonna hold our nose and vote for Biden because we know we don't want that. To your point, but we're not true believers. What's the difference? Why the difference?
Well, so I would say belief commits us to action. Right? When we believe in something, the function of belief is to commit us to action. Because I believe this thing, because I see the world a certain way, I therefore navigate life a certain way.
Right.
Ethos, right? A way of framing the world, a way of making meaning of the world. And that's why having a belief, have a shared ideology, helps unify people and get them moving. Now, there is also this idea, this theory in propaganda, that you can unite a people by declaring an enemy of the state.
Uh-huh.
And that's what we saw in 2020, right? To your point, thanks to black folks. We saw that in 2020. We're like, look, we don't want that, so let's come together and, just so we can overthrow that. And now you're asking, I say the Democratic Party is asking for a sequel. And then it's like, well, what did we get from doing that in the first place? Now we go back to this sort of Sisyphus scenario that you go back to the facts and no one remembers the facts. The facts aren't evocative. People don't share the facts. So then you just kind of go back to whatever stories are being told that subverts what is factual. It is an unfortunate, circuitous situation that Democrats find themselves in. And it's until we start to remove these stumbling blocks that we will continue to stumble.
Yeah. I refuse to believe that my friends on the right are any smarter than I am. They're not smarter than me. They are not more gifted than me, and I say me. I'm talking about all of us on the left, all of us on this side of the ledger. They're not smarter than us. They're not more gifted than us. They're not more anything than us. And yet, this is not the first time in my career. I've been at this 3 decades. I've had this conversation perennially about why they are such better storytellers. I had this conversation 20 years ago with Frank Luntz, the Republican pollster, who wrote a book about why they are so much better than we are. But Frank ain't here, and you are, Marcus Collins. And I want to ask you why it is you think they are better storytellers, and more to the point, can Democrats ever become better storytellers? It's like, here's the problem for me. We've got the better story, but they're better storytellers. So my question again is, why are they better storytellers? And is it possible for Democrats to ever become better at this storytelling thing?
I mean, Frank Luntz, he said the quiet parts out loud, that it's not about what you say, it's what people hear.
That's right.
Like it's what we hear. And being able to understand the psyche, understand the meaning-making system that your party has, what to say, so they interpret the way you want them to interpret it and act accordingly. Now, I will say that on the Democratic side, it's far more fractured. There's far more a lot of disconnect, right? There are this kind of Democrats, that kind of Democrats, and actually, as a party, that sort of heterogeneity is celebrated, right? It's like it's like we sort of like the discourse.
Sure.
And on the other side, I remember doing this session with some executives, and I asked them sort of, who are you? What do you believe? How you see the world? And someone self-identified as Republican, and they said, well, what are the shared beliefs? He said, we believe in country first and all the things. And they said, well, what are the unwritten rules? He said, you never go against a Republican in public. I was like, whoa, Nelly, right? So by its very nature, there's this sense of coming together. So to get to your core question, why are they better at this than the Democrats are. It has nothing to do with intellect. It has everything to do with understanding. Everything to do with understanding. They understand their people, and they talk to them as humans, not as rational beings. They talk to the evocative part of the brain that actually is associated with our behavior. The limbic system is a part of the brain that the amygdala, the hippocampus all live there. What happens is that the emotions are associated with that part of the brain and decision making. Right. So what I feel informs what I do. We call that intuition, instinct, right? We just kind of act.
Right.
And so when someone appeals to my emotions, I'm more inclined to move. Now, when we talk to the rational part of you, that part operates in what's called the neocortex, which also is where rationality and language live. So when you talk the rational, I understand that, but it doesn't actually move me. So for Democrats, this isn't about intellect. This is about understanding who people are, the social animals, the cultural creatures that we are, and be able to speak to it. But like my Aunt Ann says, the Republicans tell the lie like it's a truth, and Democrats tell the truth like it's a lie.
Wow.
And as a result, we're not able to activate people in the way that we should.
Hey,
so
Marcus,
lacking here.
Say that line again, man. Say that line again.
Yeah, so that's my Aunt Ann. I got to give her all the props for this. She says, the Republicans tell the truth, tell a lie like it's the truth, and Democrats tell the truth like it's a lie.
Man, your aunt is wise. That's wisdom speaking.
That's right. That's right. And she's absolutely right. And this is the unfortunate part, is that the thing that we hear over and over and over again, the thing that continues to be refrained over and over and over again, we start to believe it. In fact, we start to like it. There's a psychological phenomenon called the mere exposure effect. That is, the more you hear it, the more you see it, the more you tend to like it. And as those stories go over and over and over again, not only do we believe it to be true, we start to prefer those stories. And facts are just, they don't overcome the power of storytelling. I mean, we're storytelling animals. It's what we've been doing since we were able to think. And these things run deep in us, and they help us socialize what are the beliefs, what are the values and the norms of people like us.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me expand this out. I'm still noodling on your Aunt Ann's comment. I wrote that phrase down. I'm going to use that one. And I promise you, the first time I use it, I will give Aunt Ann attribution. The first time I use it. The first time I use it. Yeah. I say all the time, the first time I use it, I'll give attribution. The second time I use it, I'll say, I heard somebody once say. And then the third time I use it, it's as I always say. So I'll give you attribution the first time, and by the third time, it belongs to me. I'll leave that where it is. So let me broaden the frame here, because you're the right person to talk to this about. Our guest is Professor Dr. Marcus Collins, a brilliant intellect when it comes to the culture and why we do what we do and why we behave the way we behave. We'll talk about that a bit more in his book as we move through this hour. But let me just broaden the frame beyond the U.S. and get your take on why this matters, because we live in a global world. In this year, 2024, we will have the biggest election year in history. It's the biggest election year in history around the globe. Over 4 billion people in more than 50 countries will go to the polls and exercise some form of democracy. India, South Africa, Mexico, the U.S., and beyond, all gearing up for major presidential races, albeit the fact that we have a rematch, of course, in this country between Biden and Trump. But what does it mean? I want to just stand back for a second. It's not just us. What does it mean that democracy, in air quotes, is on the ballot all around the world in the biggest election year in history?
Because there's so much subversion of democracy, and when I wrote that piece, I said some form of democracy.
Right.
Because in all reality, I don't think we've ever seen a pure democracy at play. We've seen some semblance of it. Some more have a higher fidelity than others. But I think more and more what we see around the globe is a subversion of that. Right. We're not living up to our greatest ideals. And if, America, the superpower, we are supposed to be sort of the epitome, the exemplar of not only how democracy is supposed to play out, but also how it reverberates and impacts society. If we're supposed to be the crown jewel, the apex of that, and the way we see democracy subverted over the decades, and probably in its most conspicuous fashion, think about the insurrection. You got to say, man, how much integrity is there in democracy? And when we see it subverted in almost every turn, you open up the segment talking about Putin, right? Like, that's not a democracy. People go to vote, but that is that's a vanity project. It's not real. And the fear is that that's where we might be. Maybe not to that fidelity, but certainly we seem to be going that direction.
Yeah, I'm getting messages from everywhere. Let me just read a few of them right quick, Marcus. Tavis, it's easier to be a better storyteller when you are willing to lie constantly. You want to comment on that comment first, Marcus?
Yeah, I mean, as kids, what they say, you telling the story, you making up something.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the more creative you can be in the storytelling, the more compelling it is, the more evocative it is. I mean, we pay money to go see people tell us stories, right? Like even things that say based on a true story. Yeah. There was a movie about Noah building the ark, right? Depending on whatever your divinity, your theology is, building this massive thing. And they had to add new things to make it more compelling. Like, what are we talking about here? Right? We're constantly embellishing on stories because God's writing wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that if you're willing to take liberties in the storytelling, the story can potentially be more compelling.
Somebody else says, a lie, Marcus, is always sexier than the truth.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. Because, again, embellishments allow for more, and it's juicier, it's more exciting, it's more titillating, and those things help us lean in. I mean, this is why. I mean, look, as much as we sort of talk about gossip as being a negative form of socialization, there's actually a lot of good that comes from gossip. We think about it from intellectual perspective. Like, gossip allows us to cooperate without any authoritative figure.
Yeah.
Right? If I heard something about you, Tavis, I go tell John, and John goes, no way. Yeah, Tavis did that. Then John goes, okay, I know what not to do.
Yeah.
Because if I do that, people are going to talk about me, and now I act in concert with my people. This is the power of gossip, and the more we tell, the more we lie, the more we add and embellish to it, the more titillating it becomes, and therefore, actually, the more it does to sort of corral us, unfortunately.
When we come forward, I want to get Marcus Collins' take on this. My mind is going back to a conversation I had some years ago with one of the most brilliant linguists I've ever met. His name is George Lakoff, brilliant linguist based here in California. Stanford, UC Berkeley, one of the two. I shouldn't say that on the radio. One of those, they're not the same schools, and I don't want to upset the fans, but it's one of those two schools, one of those two great schools. George Lakoff is his name. And he talked about the effectiveness, Marcus, of Trump using those simple words over and over and over again. This is going to be really good. This is good. It's good. You're going to love this. You're going to love this. You're going to love it. It's really good. It's really good. It's really good. We laugh and make fun of Trump as if he doesn't have any, understanding of how to put together a real sentence. But there's an effectiveness, George Lakoff argued, linguistically, in the way Trump does that. I want to get Marcus Collins' take on that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Former President Trump says he'll need to take extreme measures to pay his $464 million bond in his New York civil fraud case. That includes selling some of his properties quickly for cheap fire sale prices. Trump took aim at Judge Arthur Engoron, who ruled against them in the case. In a Truth Social post, Trump complained that Engoron actually wants me to put up hundreds of millions of dollars for the right to appeal his ridiculous decision. The first two of the 6 former Rankin County, Mississippi law enforcement officers who pleaded guilty to torturing and sexually assaulting 2 black men last year were sentenced to lengthy prison terms in federal court Tuesday. Hunter Elwood was sentenced to 20 years and Jeffrey Middleton was ordered to spend 17 years behind bars. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Can your roof handle extreme weather? If you have leaks or a roof that is 20 years old or more, go to localroofs.com to schedule a free roof checkup and estimate. Get a new roof for as low as $198 per month on approved credit. Restrictions apply. Go to localroofs.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A tough day for alumni at Howard University. The Howard men's basketball team lost to Wagner by 3 in Tuesday's play-in game in the NCAA tournament in Dayton, Ohio. Howard had 3 attempts to knock down a game-tying three-pointer in the final 10 seconds, but missed all 3 shots. Howard ends the season at 18-17. Wagner moves on to play North Carolina Thursday in Charlotte. North Carolina is the number 1 seed in the East Regional. The other HBCU school in the NCAA tournament is Grambling. The Tigers play Montana State today in a Midwest Regional play-in game in Dayton, 3:40 p.m. tip-off on True TV. It's a special day for Grambling and their alumni around the country. This is the first NCAA tournament game for Grambling in school history. The Clippers are back in action tonight at Portland. The Lakers are off until Friday's home game against Philadelphia. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary hair? Visit your local SoCal FS Cut and Color Salon today and let their team of expert stylists pamper you with affordable luxury. Get a free shampoo with every cut. Book your appointment today at fantasticsams.com.
We heard you. You're hard at work when Tavis Smiley is on the air mid-morning, so we're giving you twice the Tavis. You can now tune in to Tavis Smiley weekdays at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. only on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
If you're looking for the most epic place on earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
Available feature. Intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
It does indeed with Professor Marcus Collins, a brilliant intellectual who is a best-selling author, as I mentioned, a professor, and an expert when it comes to the power of storytelling and human behavior. His book is called For the Culture, the power behind what we buy, what we do, and who we want to be. I was saying, before the break, Marcus, that I have a memory of a conversation I had with a brilliant linguist named Georgia Lakoff. I have a very smart audience. It didn't take long for people to tell me exactly where he is. I mentioned I wasn't sure if he was at Berkeley or Stanford. He is now, according to my audience, a retired and distinguished professor at UC Berkeley. I knew it was one of those two, Berkeley or Stanford. So he's retired now at UC Berkeley, but one of the most brilliant philosophers and linguists I've ever met. And I recall one night we had a deep conversation. He just broke down for me as a linguist how and why Trump uses these very simple words, why he is so repetitive in the use of those words, and how effective that is for his audience. Here we are on the left laughing, making fun of him. He can't put a sentence together. Look how simplistic he is. And according to Georgia Lakoff, for that audience, that works, and it works remarkably well. That's what Lakoff had to say. What does Marcus Collins have to say?
I can't agree any more effectively with much more zeal. I mean, spot on. Think about who Trump decided to focus on. He decided to focus on the marginalized. And when we think about the marginalized, we think about us, black folks. Yep. Right, but there are people who are marginalized who have white skin, but they are marginalized from an economic perspective. That they are outside of the caste that is American society, and no one talks to them. Nobody, right? They are considered degenerates. They're considered lowlifes. They're considered hicks and rednecks, and no one's paying them any attention. And Trump came in and said, "I'm going to speak for you. I'm going to speak for you all. You all who've been equally marginalized in your own regards, not equal, but in your own regards. And I'm going to speak to you not in this highfalutin intellectual way that politicians have talked to other people who look like you. I'm going to talk to you in your language." And language is so important when it comes to community because language is the doorway into belonging. When someone talks like you, you go, "Oh, where are you from?" Right? If someone says, "Hey, what up, though?" I go, "Oh, you must be from Detroit. What's happening?" Or if someone says, "That John," I go, "Oh, you're from Philly." Mm-hmm. Right? That language signals who you are in the world. It helps us identify who's one of us and who isn't. And when he speaks in a way that is of their vernacular, they feel like they get him. But he gets them, and they ultimately get him as a result. He kind of brings himself down to who they are, meet them where they are. Yeah. Not only that, the ease of the language allows them to repeat it easily, right? When you're using, complex words and words that are not a part of someone's normal vernacular or their vocabulary, it's hard for them to mimic it. But if you're using language they already use, not only do you feel connected, but it's easy for you to mimic it, right? And the phraseology he uses, it's so peculiar, and we'll laugh to your point and say that's so grammatically incorrect. Say things like, "It's bigly happening." It doesn't make any sense. But when someone repeats that, you go, "Oh, you must be a Trump fan. You must be one of me." Right? It becomes ways of signaling that we are part of the community. And from a cultural perspective, this is unbelievably powerful. And it becomes a line that we, on the left, the Democrats, the more progressive people, continue to widen, because as we throw jabs at his, my mother would say, his poor use of the King's English,
right?
As we throw jabs at that, we are inadvertently throwing jabs at his people. Yeah. So it's not about him, the individual. It's him, the figurehead that represents these people and how they see the world.
I'm a boxing fan. I box as my workout. I'm a pugilist, and so you'll appreciate this comment. His jab is connecting. That's all I need to say. His jab.
That's right.
his jab is connecting. Right. This takes me straight into a conversation about a powerful and provocative piece I read that you wrote recently called "Voting for Us." The "us" is in quotes. Voting for us. Tribalism takes over U.S. politics. Just top line that piece for our audience, if you will, please, sir.
The idea is that, we're supposed to be voting, going to the ballot box for what we feel is better for America, us. The thing is, though, in this divisive time that we live in, particularly and from the presidential race that we're facing, is that people aren't identifying as Americans. They are identifying as their own unique tribe, whether it's MAGA tribe or it's progressive tribe or whatever the case may be, right? Those are the two poles.
Sure.
But what's happening here is that because we identify as our tribal affiliation and not as Americans, we see anyone who's not in our tribe as our enemy. And therefore, even if something is to my benefit, even if something actually benefits me and my people, I can't vote for because it's like voting against myself, despite the fact that the value propositions might be in my best interest. That is wild. And it's because we're so committed to these ideological monikers that we use to express our personhood that we're going to vote along not party lines but tribal lines. And as a result, not only does it affect the actual vote, but it means that we cannot connect if we see the world differently. And I think that is unbelievably problematic.
No, it's beyond problematic. I'm just processing the full extent of what you were just sharing. Let me pivot ever so gently because I think this connects nicely. I mentioned earlier that Dr. Collins is a clinical marketing professor. By the way, he's at the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan, U of M. And he's the head of strategy for a major firm in New York City. So he doesn't just teach this stuff. He is the head of strategy for a major. Go ahead and shout the firm out, Dr. Collins. I'll let you shout it out.
I used to be the chief strategy officer at Wieden & Kennedy, but now I actually operate as a professor in residence for brands. So I get to work really closely with companies, organizations, politicians, institutions to help them take these things we rigorously interrogate as scholars and apply it to their day-to-day work.
Right. So to that, I'm glad you said that. It takes me right where I want to go. So to that point, or to that end, what are you telling brands, these brands that you consult with? What are you telling them? American business about how to prepare for a very contentious political year?
I'm telling my clients and anyone who will listen, quite frankly, that it's going to be kind of a put up or shut up moment. We often have this tendency when it comes to commercial entities, brands, companies, etc., to say let's play to the middle. We don't want to get in any of the muck and mire of politics, of social issues, right? We don't want that unless we feel like it's safe. I mean, Bud Light thought it was safe to be in the pride space until last year's debacle, and then companies said, I don't want any parts of that. So what I'm telling companies now is that, listen, the most powerful way to connect with people is through shared beliefs, shared ideology. And if you're going to speak up on a social issue, you better make sure that you actually believe it, that it's not convenient, that it's not cosplay, but you actually believe the thing in which what you're saying, because you're going to be called to task for it. Because the people who disagree with you, they're going to call you out. And if you don't have enough conviction to stand on it in the face of adversity, the effects are going to be irreversible. They're going to be terrible. You take a brand like Bud Light, whose debacle with Dylan Mulvaney last year, they're still paying for that. Like they're still hemorrhaging from that. But take that and juxtapose it to a brand like Nike, who stood for Colin Kaepernick because they believe in athletes and they always stand with athletes. And while they got some pushback, they didn't lose their footing. They stayed exactly firm on what they believed. And while people were burning Nikes, other people were buying 2 pair of Nikes, and their stock price shot up. Right? This is the power of standing on ideology, on conviction. It helps us connect with people. And when there is adversity, people realize when you stand on it that you're about that life, 10 toes down. And that's what brands need to be. That's what companies need to be, organizations and politicians need to be.
He is a marketing guru, and so while he's here, I'm not going to waste any moment with him. So when we come forward, I want to ask him about human behavior. He believes it is his mantra that there is no force more influential on human behavior than culture. No force more influential on human behavior than culture. I want to connect that to black folk. We'll do that when we come forward with Marcus Collins on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
The Supplemental Security Income Program provides monthly payments to help meet basic needs, like putting food on the table, paying the rent, or buying new shoes for growing feet. You may qualify if your income and financial resources are low, and you are 65 or older, or an adult or child with a disability or who is blind. Call 1-800-772-1213 or go to ssa.gov/SSI to start to apply. Produced by Social Security at U.S. taxpayer expense.
She posted about us just now.
Celebrities can't get enough of Beyond's bespoke skincare line.
She has 147 million followers. How do we monetize?
She needs a social media associate to help her with the hype.
We should repost this. Do we need a hashtag?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
So you just used bug spray in your home. Now what? Well, between the waiting and waiting for things to dry up and keeping your family away from the mess, it hits you. You could have used Zevo. Unlike other bug sprays that stick around, Zevo goes from kill to clean in seconds. Plus, it's safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zevo, people-friendly, bug-deadly.
The thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it hurts to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. Only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer suggested price. However, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer. Excludes 8-count pack.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Professor Marcus Collins. My time is getting tight on me. Now let me move swiftly here. Professor Collins, tell me why there is no force in the world more influential on human behavior than culture. Why is culture all that and then some?
Because culture is a system of conventions and expectations that demarcate who we are in the world and govern what people like us do. Because of our identity, we see the world a certain way. That's why for some, a cow is leather, for others, it's a deity, and for some, it's dinner. Which one is it? It's all those things, depending on how you see the world, right? For some, a rug is decor. For others, it's a place of worship. For some, it's a souvenir. Which one is it? It's all those things, depending on who you are. So because of who we are, we see the world a certain way. And because we see the world a certain way, we navigate life a certain way, right? I'm a Collins. My name is Marcus Collins. We believe family and church come first. Therefore, Sunday mornings, I'm in the church sanctuary. Why? Because that's just what people like me do. And all of us, all the many ways by which we self-identify, be it individual references, like I'm a professor, group references, I'm in a fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma, or abstract references, I'm a father of 2 girls. Whatever our moniker by which we self-identify, and it informs how we see the world, and we abide by this rubric. I am a, we believe this, therefore I. I'm a Collins, we believe family and church come first, therefore Sunday mornings, I'm in the church sanctuary. And then we express ourselves through shared work, through literature, film, music, television, radio, podcasts, and brands and branded products. And the alchemy of the system or systems of systems demarcate who we are and govern what we do. It makes up our culture. And almost every single decision that we make, whether we're aware of it or not, is being informed, governed, and influenced by our cultural subscription. If you woke up in the morning and decide what you want to wear on your own, no. We don't have that kind of agency. We have an illusion of agency. And there's social forces telling us to be normal. And therefore, we dress the way we dress, date who we date, go to school where we go to school, marry who we marry, vacation where we vacation, eat what we eat, bury the dead if we decide to bury the dead. All these things are byproducts of our cultural subscription. And we navigate life making decisions on one simple question. Do people like me do something like this? The answer is yes, we do it. The answer is no, we don't.
I was with you all the way through that answer until you mentioned the wrong fraternity. Otherwise, I was with you.
Divine Nine. It's all good.
It is all good. Divine Nine. In our remaining moments with Professor Marcus Collins, we will close by talking, now that you've heard why culture is so important when it comes to human behavior. I want to get his assessment before I let him go and talk to Eric Braden, Victor Newman in our third and final hour. I want to get Marcus's take on, in this moment, black folk and the culture. His book is called For the Culture, The Power Behind What We Buy, What We Do, and Who We Want to Be. But I want to close by asking him in this moment about black folk and the culture. You're listening to Marcus Collins on Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
Got about 3 minutes left here, Marcus Collins. I don't need to color this question much more than this. Talk to me in this moment in late modernity in this country about black folk and the culture.
There's that saying that not all skin folk are kinfolk. And just because we have melanin in our skin, we are black, that doesn't mean that there is a consistent cultural experience, a consistent set of conventions and expectations that demarcate who we are and govern what we do, right? It's far more fragmented. There's a dominant black culture because there is a dominant experience that we as black people have in this country because of the caste system, because of the marginalization, the forces that are placed on us to put us in the subjugated places that we happen to be here. So there's things that we can share. But the black culture, the culture is far more fragmented. And I love, that line from Jay-Z, I do this for my culture, because we're all doing it for our culture, whether it's our religion, our ethnicity, our nationality, our corporate organizations, our social groups, our fraternities, sororities, teams, our consumption behaviors, whether you're in the beehive or you're a sneakerhead, whatever the case may be, we're all doing it for the culture. And when it comes to like the black culture, those who identify as such, there are expectations of what people like us do. And those things continue to evolve. Just like it evolved for me versus what it was for my parents, I think that we also have to allow it to evolve for this current generation that are shaping and negotiating what's acceptable for people like us.
I want to close in the 90 seconds I have left by giving you an opportunity to just restate for those who may have tuned in late. We started talking about continuing a conversation from Adolph Reed in the first hour, talking about why the Democratic message isn't resonating, isn't breaking through in this election, at least not yet. And Marcus made a powerful point that I want everybody to remember. If you forget nothing, if you forget everything about this conversation, which you won't, I know it was at Rich. Check out the podcast, and you can listen to it again and download what you might have missed. But that point you made about facts being more evocative than stories, just close again in 30 seconds and remind us about that point.
People tell stories, not facts. We forget the facts and we tell stories. And the more evocative stories are the ones that embellish, that take liberties. But there's a fine line between creative interpretation and lies. And unfortunately, those who lie tend to have the more robust and compelling stories. And what it means for modern politics today is that the best storytellers are typically the ones that galvanize people and the ones that more than likely win unless there is some seismic shift that takes place. And unfortunately, they, as my aunt would say, they tell a lie like it's the truth. And people who have the truth tell the truth like it's a lie. And that's problematic. And that's going to be one of the most important things that need to be changed if we are to be better storytellers.
That is the postscript for the Democratic Party. For all you Democrats listening, that's why I asked Marcus Collins to repeat that. That is your takeaway from this conversation. He is Marcus Collins, brilliant professor and the Ross School of Business at University of Michigan. He teaches the business of culture. His book is called For the Culture, The Power Behind What We Buy, What We Do, and Who We Want to Be. And I am always honored to be in conversation anywhere, anytime with Marcus Collins. Marcus, appreciate you, brother. All the best to you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care. Best of luck.
Same to you. More when we come forward, including for the next hour, a conversation with Victor Newman, Eric Braden on Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Former President Trump says he'll need to take extreme measures to pay his $464 million bond in his New York civil fraud case.